Hello, I'm Danny the Guide, and are you ready for today's London snippet of history? Today we're going to talk about Smithfield. Smithfield is located in the City of London, and the word Smithfield derives from smooth field. What would have been located in this smooth field for over 700 years was a live cattle market. Now, the cattle market no longer exists because in 1855 it moved to Islington over concerns of health and safety. But when live cows were being driven here, they came from as far as Scotland, and the path they took is commemorated with a street nearby called Cow Cross Street. But it wasn't just cattle that was sold here. You also had geese being sold, and rather an endearing image to the brain is that these geese used to have their feet wrapped in cloth so that they didn't squish and squelch in all that dirt and mud and manure produced by the other animals. The building that sits on the old live cattle market is still a meat market today. It was designed by a gentleman called Sir Horace Jones, and you may know him from Tower Bridge, Leadenhall Market, Billingsgate Fish Market. This building opened in 1868 in a grand ceremony where over 12,000 people attended and the band of the Grenadier Guards played. You might remember we spoke about the Grenadiers in our video about changing the guard. Although very much in decline, the meat market still employs over 1,500 workers and sells 150,000 tonnes of meat a year, supplying butchers and restaurants up and down the United Kingdom. And to get the best bargains, you need to arrive very early in the morning. You'll also find nearby, ready for the workers, there are pubs that are licensed to sell from 6:30 a.m. But here is an interesting story about Smithfield Market. It transcends both from the live cattle market through to the current meat market. And that is wife selling. I'll say it again for dramatic effect. Wife selling. Now, we're not sure how far back this goes, but we do have a written record from 1553. So what was going on in England in 1553? Well, King Henry VIII has died, and before he did, he divorced Rome and created an Anglican church, the Church of England. So when Henry VIII dies in 1547, his son Edward VI becomes king. But he was a very sickly child, and by 1553, around the age of 15, he dies, having made Anglican reforms, continuing his father's work. Now in 1553, his half-sister, Catholic Mary I, becomes our queen. And suddenly all the priests who had been previously allowed to be married under the Anglican rules had a choice to make. You could either be a priest or be married to a woman. That was your choice, priesthood or wife. And one gentleman called Thomas Sodley came to Smithfield Market and he made his choice. He chose the priesthood. The public did not like his choice because he was pelted with eggs and full chamber pots, and from that day he was always nicknamed as Pastor Chicken. Now, this ritual of selling your wife at Smithfield Market became very well established. You had to have witnesses, which is why it was done in public, and it was like you auctioned off your wife. And they usually willingly came because turns out they were sold off to their lover. And in 1797, the Times newspaper actually reported that the price of wives at Smithfield had risen from half a guinea to 3 guineas. That is equivalent of today around £300. And what would then happen is after you had sold your wife, you would take the money, they would go to the pub, ex-husband, new lover, and the wife, and they would all drink together and she would ceremoniously give back the wedding ring. What a cheap and fun way to get divorced. But don't get any ideas because it no longer exists. You cannot sell your wife at Smithfield Market because that practice ended in the early 20th century. So what is the future for Smithfield Market? Well, it's going to move out to Dagenham, so further to the east of London. And on its site, currently under construction on one end, is the Museum of London. They are going to take over the entire site and really regenerate the area. So, you see, it may be a snippet, but I hope it's left you intrigued to find out more. Come to London and explore. I'm Danny the Guide, and I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will do my best to upload videos as much as I can.